Hey, what is going on? This is your stimulus check daily information. So $3.5 trillion. This is the new budget plan that Nancy Pelosi is trying to get passed. Inside of that plan could be possibility of a fourth stimulus check, possibility of extending out a lot of the programs, unemployment, also maybe extending out some of the other programs that are going to be expiring, possibly the child tax credit out for a couple of years down the road. But they're going to run into some resistance, though, because there are a couple of Democrats that aren't really happy about borrowing $3.5 trillion, which they've already borrowed like $6 trillion over the past year and a half. So there are a couple of people that are resistant on it. Congress, unfortunately, is the only organization right now that we have set up to where they have to vote on all these bills. The first, second, third stimulus checks, all those had to go through Congress, and then it had to go to the president's desk. He signs it into law, and then it becomes law, and then they can obviously distribute checks through the Treasury. But right now, the Treasury is actually sending out payments every week. There's another $25 billion that needs to be going out. Those are the people that are filing their returns. You have till October 15th to get your return in. Once you get your return in, then they will look at your returns and they'll say, is there a difference in your 2019 and your 2020? If there is a difference, they're going to be sending you out a bonus or a plus-up payment. You can also, in that those filings, there is a recovery rebate credit section. In that section, you can say, I didn't get my first two checks. First two checks will be sent out to you, plus the third check, obviously, for that. But you have to file your returns with that, and you have to get them in before October 15th. If you do that, you can get your new stimulus check. But this would be the third stimulus check. Now, moving forward, possibly a fourth stimulus check. It all really depends on a lot of different things. It depends on if the economy is going to be getting better, if the unemployment gets better, if this new variant goes crazy. Who knows what's going to happen if the states start to shut down their economies again. I've seen other countries do it. New Zealand, Australia, they're all shutting down their economies again. It's crazy. Even people in London, I think, are talking about shutting down their economies again. If that happens, then the government's going to have to come out and support these people and these businesses. They can't just say, well, in 6 months, we'll give you out a little stimulus check. It's just not going to work like that. So we'll have to see what about's going to happen in that. Now, there is a legislation in the House of Representatives right now. It's called the Support Act. The Support Act is an act that Omar, and a lot of other Democrats have put together to try to get more payments out to everybody. So the Democratic lawmaker recently proposed that would hand over recurring checks or guaranteed income with monthly payments of up to $1,200 for adults and $600 for children. However, there was no timeline given on if and when the legislation would be considered or how long it would take to implement the new programs if the bills were to be approved. So this is something that Ilhan Omar has put together, the Support Act, to try to get $1,200 payments out to everybody and $600 for children. If they can get that passed, then they don't have to come through and try to create these bills and try to get more stimulus. It would just be an automatic payment going out to everybody that does qualify for that. Again, they're going to have to create a ton of more money. They're going to have to spend that. But to me, if they're going to create $3.5 trillion, which is the amount of number that is just absolutely insane, $3.5 trillion, they could take that and they could spend, $400 or $500 billion out of that $3.5 trillion and send that out as reoccurring payments. Maybe they'll do that. I don't know. A lot of times Nancy Pelosi, she puts these bills together and she says they have to sign it in order to see what's in it. To me, that's crazy. But there's going to be close to $5 trillion of money that's going to be created. It's going to put a lot of pressure on inflation, and that means that people that aren't invested, that don't know how to invest their money, that have money sitting in a bank account, are really going to get hurt the most. People that are living paycheck to paycheck, people that are on fixed income, they're going to be going to the grocery store, and there's going to be a lot more, the payments are going to be a lot more in order to buy the same food that you could even a couple of years ago. Now, one of the things that could hinder all this new support and all this new stimulus is going to be this unemployment rate that dropped from 5.4% to 5.2%. This is a number that continues to drop, and that it's good for the economy. But one of the things that wasn't good was the jobs report in August. It was 235,000 new jobs were created, which is not a lot. 720,000 was the projected forecast for that. And so there was a very bad number for August jobs report. That doesn't mean that it's going to improve. I'm not saying it's not going to improve. I'm just showing you the numbers that come out. If the jobs reports still continue to struggle, and then you have all these variants, and you have these governors that get itchy to try to say, okay, we're shutting down our businesses, nobody can go to business anymore, it creates a lot of pressure. And it creates a lot of pressure on Congress to pass a bill in order to get more stimulus out to everybody. So we're just going to take a look at these numbers and see what happens. I personally think coming down the road is going to be, the Federal Reserve is going to get to the point where they're just going to get tired of waiting for Congress. They're going to get tired of waiting for the banks, and they're going to just drop an app into your phone, and then you're going to be able to, they'll take stimulus, drop it into that app, and then you'll be able to spend it. I don't know long term that's going to be very good, but in the short term, I think what it's going to do is it's going to bypass Congress, all that, so they can get more stimulus. I think the issue that Congress or the Federal Reserve is having right now is that people were given the stimulus checks, but they weren't actually going out and spending it. And they want, the way this debt system we have set up, it has to go out there and it has to, they have to issue more debt, but then they have to get the money velocity flowing through. So meaning you have to go out and spend it. And so they might put a time limit on those stimulus payments if they set up some type of FedNow stable coin. But that's something down the road, and who knows, they might do that next couple of months. That would be a big, crazy improvement for them to come out and do that. What I like to see happening right now is this December 31st deadline of these states. These states have to send out money from the stimulus. For the federal government has to send out the money by December 31st. The states do. If not, I think they have to give it back. And I know these states aren't going to want to give the stimulus money back to the federal government. So some of the states right now, for example, Texas or Irvine is going to be a big city. $2,000 is going to be given to staff to try to return them to the classroom. Now, most of these states, they're all giving this to teachers. I think the teachers unions in these states are so powerful that I think they just they're bullying these governors, I think, around to try to just give money out to these teachers. Which listen, you're a teacher, I get it. I'm not denying that teachers shouldn't get it, but I think there's other people that still need to get some stimulus out there because they were forced to not go to work because the businesses were shut down. But Tennessee, $1,000 we sent to teachers and also part-time teachers getting $500. And then you have New York, $2.1 billion fund for undocumented workers. Michigan, $500 hazard pay. Georgia is going to be sending out $1,000 to part-time teachers and $500, or $1,000 for teachers and part-time to $500 to part-time teachers. Florida, they're going to be doing a little differently. They're also going to be sending out $1,000 payments to the teachers and administrators. Plus, they're going to be sending out payments to frontline workers, EMT, police, firemen, all that are going to be getting a $1,000 stimulus check. New Mexico, $740 is going to be sent to 4,000 people in New Mexico. $5 million out of $1.8 billion, if you can believe it, is the only amount of money they're going to be spending. They're a little stingy in New Mexico. They should step that up. Maryland, $300 individuals who filed earned income tax credit. Didn't seem like a lot of money from Maryland. Colorado, $375 is going to be going for one unemployment payment. So at least they're getting payments out. I mean, California is the only state right now that's actually doing the right thing as far as getting more stimulus to the people that need it. Anybody that makes less than $75,000 a year is going to be getting a $600 check plus a $500 for dependents. This is the Golden State stimulus. Now, those of you that are in the comments below and you're talking about that, what about my state? What about this state? Again, I'm going by what the states are doing right now. I'm going to give you all the details of this, but it comes down to the governors and legislation in that area to come up with a plan in order to get more stimulus. And it looks like a lot of them are just going after the teachers right now because of the fact that maybe it's because the teachers union is so powerful and that's how they get these governors in. And this is the favor they get back. Who knows? Politics is something that I try to stay out of. I try to stick with what I see coming down the road and just my opinion on what I think is going to happen. The fourth stimulus check, I know there's probably going to be coming down the road here pretty quick, but what form, it might not be like it was in the past. In the past, they sent out a deposit to your bank account, $1,200 or $1,400 deposit to your bank account, and you go and spend that. In the future, I don't really know if it's going to be just like that. It might be where A lot of the programs are going to be extended out. Child tax credit right now. Anybody that has children can get a $300 check every month, and they might extend that out through year 2025. So that means if you got 4 or 5 kids over the next 4 or 5 years that are not turning 17, you're going to be getting a monthly stimulus payment. That would be good for a lot of people that do have families. Those that don't have families, that families, kids growing up, whatever, that's where I think the possibility of this support act that Ilhan Omar in Minnesota has set up, she's going to try to get that $1,200 payments and the $600 payments sent out to everybody. But again, the government, they have to tax people, they have to print the money, they have to go out there and spend that money. It's going to be a huge burden on government. And right now, the government doesn't need to be getting bigger, it needs to be getting smaller. That way you get the inflation under control, and then they don't have to spend as much money. Right now, the government spends 50% of GDP, which is huge. It's just too much. It's government got to step back, Nancy Pelosi, but they won't. They're going to continue to spend that money and get that money out into the economy. And so I think that, with California setting the stage right, I think California is doing the right thing. And hopefully a lot of the other governors in the different states will look at what they're doing and maybe turn around and do the right thing in their state as far as getting checks out to people that need it. Because especially places like California, they closed down all those businesses and said you cannot open these businesses and they did it for a long time. For me in Florida, it was only for a couple of weeks. Really, it was only like 2 months. And the governor said, all right, we can't just have businesses not doing anything. We got to get people back to work. And then, so the economy flourishes that way. That's, to me, is better stimulus, trying to get businesses open back up and let them grow and let them continue to have success. Hey, so if you have any questions about stimulus, go ahead and drop those questions in the comments below. This is your daily stimulus check updated information for today.